Hello, it's lovely to be here this morning. What a treat for the morning. And the sun is even shining in Glasgow, so it's a good day all round, I think. I'm going to share my screen now, but if you have any questions during the chat, my co-authors, Dan and Joe, are both here. So feel free to ask them lots of questions while I'm talking, and they can catch those for me. So let me just share screen. Okay, can you see my slides?
Yes, we can.
Lovely. All right. So as I said, my name is Yvonne Skipper. I'm based at the University of Glasgow. And my colleagues are Dan Jolley, who's at Northumbria, and Joe Reddington, who is down in London, who runs the charity Equality Time, which is a charity for kind of educational equality and building technologies to help young people to access education and other opportunities. So our project is really focusing on how we can tackle fake people rather than fake news directly, how we can look at the people behind the fake news and how we can tie into young people's real interest in people and in understanding their society as a way to help them to recognize fake news. Now, as a project, we're interested in trust. We know that trust isn't easy. We know that sometimes it's pretty hard to know who you should be trusting. And also the world isn't neatly divided into good guys and bad guys and trustworthy and not trustworthy. So I trust him with my life. I wouldn't trust him with a £5 note, right? It's not black and white. And we want to help young people to start to look at these nuances and to make good decisions about what they're trusting and about the information they're receiving online. Because we know that being able to trust information online is important. Being confident in those skills is really important for you as a person and also for your community that you find yourself in. So we started to think, and it was also based on what we're seeing in the world around us at the moment about fake news, about how during the pandemic we've seen a lot of examples of fake news going around where people aren't sure what they can trust and whether they should be trusting the information they see, particularly online. So fake news is intentionally fabricated articles that are verifiably false and could mislead an audience. And we know that fake news actually is really important because it spreads 6 times faster than the truth. So it's reaching a lot of people. We also know that people tend to believe fake news around 75% of the time. And that when they believe this fake news, it affects their behavior. So there's been some studies that found that fake news impacted the way that people voted in the 2016 election. There may well be findings about this election as well. We will have to look at that later. But we know that it's not just problematic in what you believe, but it's actually affecting what you do. So we really need to look at how we can help people to make good decisions about information that they find online. And when we had a look, we saw that a lot of the work on fake news has been focused on university students. It's not surprising because obviously they're quite a handy bunch to get hold of if you want to test interventions and try things out. But we know a lot less about how young people negotiate fake news online. And this is important because we know that most young people don't sit and watch the news. So when they're scrolling through their Facebook, news pops up. So that's where they get a lot of their news. Around 44% of them say they get their news on Facebook. And we also know that when we're scrolling on Facebook and we've got all that information and we've got the dog videos and bits of news and we're not really deeply engaging with the news, that kind of method of processing might make us a bit more susceptible. So what we wanted to do in this project was to focus on working with young people who are about 13, which is the youngest age you're meant to be allowed to be on. And we know that people are on it younger, but we thought if we can focus on young people and try and kind of get these skills embedded early, then hopefully that'll stand them in good stead as they're aging as well. Another problem we came across was that a lot of young people feel like their favorite influencers understand them better than their friends do. And we know that a lot of young people are not very likely to trust information that comes from people in positions of authority. So we didn't really want to go in and go, hi, I'm Dr. Skipper, let me talk to you about fake news in a kind of preachy way. We wanted to work with influencers, with young people themselves, to co-create our interventions. So we didn't want to come in from on high and be like, this is what you should be doing. But we wanted to really work collaboratively with young people themselves, with Instagram influencers, with teachers, and with all those different groups to come together to co-create the intervention, which has the academic side, which has the young people's, it's using the language, the tools. We've got the voices of the influencers as well to hopefully create something that's going to be really, really, powerful in terms of being something that people want to use and people find engaging and people think is really relevant to them. So I think I'm preaching to the choir when I talk about co-creation here. I know it's something that you're very interested in at Not Equal. And so for us, what we're going to do is we're not going into the co-creation with really strong ideas of we want this and we want that and we want this. We're going to let ourselves be quite led by our participants. But the main thing that we want to do is to work with them to co-create about 6 sessions on fake news, which will fit into personal, social and health education lessons, maybe media or IT lessons, so that teachers, when they want to use it, can pick a lesson, plug this into a typical half term and use these materials. So we'll create the materials and then we'll create a guide for teachers. So this won't be a project that requires somebody to come in. It's something teachers can pick up and utilize themselves. And the sorts of topics, I've left these 2 pictures up here while I'm talking. Maybe you can see if you can guess. One of these is a real photo. One of them is a fake. It's computer generated. So while I'm talking, maybe see if you can guess which is real. So we want to explore fake news, maybe using discussions in the classroom, maybe question and answers with our influencers, so we can zoom them into the classroom. Maybe they can create some content for the young people. Maybe there'll be some Q&As with them. We thought we might look at things like fake news, fake photos, deep fakes, and get kids designing fake news, spotting fake news, get them actually online, engaging with different news sources. And hopefully we're hoping to use a little bit of CATS, cross-age teaching, where the kids are designing materials for other kids. If you're interested, the fire photo is the real one. The room photo is actually completely computer generated. So we are going to co-create with our teachers, pupils and influencers. We're giving this plenty of time, about 6 weeks. We're going to work with them to come up with the overall shape of it, and then different subgroups are going to work up each lesson plan. We're going to pre-test our kids before they do our intervention, and then we're going to have one group who do our new fake news intervention and the other group that do their usual PSHE or IT or whatever lesson that the teachers choose to put it in. Then we're going to test them again, and then we're going to switch it round. So then we can see if the intervention group, if those effects last, even if you're not doing it. So will we still see them after 6 weeks? And it also allows us to test a second group of kids, so all of them get to do it, and we can see if it's different across the 2 different groups. So that's our kind of general design. And in this, we're going to be using a questionnaire where we're going to look at their ability to recognize fake news, their confidence in recognizing fake news, what they do when they see something before they share it online, like what steps do they go through. And we're also going to use the newly developed, which myself and Dan have been working on, the Adolescent Conspiracy Belief Questionnaire, which measures conspiracy belief in young people, because we know that people who are more likely to believe in fake news are also more likely to believe in conspiracies. So here's some examples of the sorts of things we're going to be using. So these are both examples of fake news, and we're going to ask the kids whether they think they're real, how confident they are in negotiating whether they're real or not. As well as this, we're going to do some focus groups with the learners to kind of say, right, which sessions worked, which ones didn't, which activities did you like, which was the most fun, which made you think the most. So again, we want to really get not just the co-creative team's views, but the people who participate in it. And we'll do some interviews with the teachers as well, like, did the guide work? Did it fit well? Can we tie it into the curriculum better? How does it sit in your IT or PSHE lessons, for example? And then we're going to use all of that information to improve our intervention to get it even better. And lastly, we're intending to disseminate it really broadly. So we are going to have a project website where we'll have all the materials, where teachers can just pick it up, and hopefully not just teachers, people in community groups, maybe things like brownies or guides, or other people who are working with young people will be able to look at this and use it. We're going to create a video with an outline of the findings, and again, an accessible way, because I don't know about you, but I get a bit sick of reading things sometimes. So we're hoping to make a nice video, and a summary report, which we're going to share with members of the UK and Scottish Parliament to try and engage policymakers at the higher level as well in the project and in our findings. So that is a whirlwind summary of our project. If you've got any questions, obviously we can take them afterwards, or you can contact me on this email address. So that's everything from me. Thanks very much.